I got you. WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and you're about to go one-on-one with Talking Taker. Holla.
All right, creatures of the night. Welcome to episode 213 of Talking Taker, our encyclopedic exploration digging up the career of the greatest professional wrestling character of all time, The Undertaker. My name is Alex Dorio, and I want to thank you, everybody out there in our Pod Street Krew, for joining us for yet another round of Dead Man Talking. Oh, get yourself more in the center there.
Where was I? Okay, is that better?
There you go.
Okay.
That's good.
That's better? Okay.
That's good.
I was good. Okay, sorry.
Of course, I am talking to my tag team partner, my co-host, my wrestling buddy. He is, he's my best friend, but for maybe a few days back in 8th grade when he started dating a girl that I had a crush on at the same time. He was my greatest rival, Mr. Travis White. Just that's about the only time I could think of where you were my greatest rival there, buddy. But
it didn't last.
No, of course it didn't last. Our friendship stood the test of time.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that lasted.
I think I was your greatest rival either when I pour the dip spit on you when we were in a pretend wrestling match, or when I beat you with Chris Masters.
That's it.
As CM Punk. You were CM Punk. I ruined your SmackDown World Title reign on SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 or 11 or something like that.
Fluke beat me with Chris Masters.
Oh, it's no fluke. What are you talking about? The Master Lock.
You never beat me at wrestling game.
The Master Lock Challenge.
You beat my champion. I couldn't get out of the Master Lock. It was unbreakable. Yeah, I ruined my whole season and everything. I was perturbed for a minute. I got over it. So be all right. I'm a different man now.
Oh, okay.
I was a young boy then.
Yeah, in your mid-20s.
Yeah, this is like 12 years ago.
A young man, of course. Well, we joke about all that because tonight we got a very special episode. Travis and I, we've done, like I said, over 200 of these episodes of Talking Taker. We've covered his entire career. Well, tonight we're going to look back at The Undertaker's greatest rivals. We're going to analyze it. Travis and I, we've both ranked our top 10 Undertaker rivals of all time. And we may get into another shouting match. We may get into another feud right here because our list could be very different. I'm sure there is quite a bit of crossover, but it'll be interesting to see where everybody ranks, the arguments that we make, to defend our list here. I always enjoy doing these top 10 lists with you. I think that these are some very fun episodes for us.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We were talking before we started rolling here that, I just kind of just didn't go back and do any research. I just laid down the top 10 out of my heart that I felt like jumped off the page to me and out of my memory, and kind of went from there, and then figured them around, and didn't want to be biased by anything or reading anything or watching any of our old episodes or listening. I just wanted to go through my gut after covering this man's career with a fine-tooth comb over the last 6 years. What do I feel like are his top 10 rivals? And some are going to be obvious, I think. So we'd be idiots not to have them on here. But it's interesting to know the number. I know for me, top 3, top 1 was easy. Top 2, maybe. Top 3, were like maybe 2 through 5. It was kind of like, I don't know, man. They could be at certain times. 2 through 5 could have been whatever. And then after that, it was kind of easy. But like that on the cusp of number 1 was difficult for me. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. No, I think I sketched mine out. Maybe I did a rough draft a couple weeks ago, and then I looked back on it, the past couple days, and switched some things around.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what really what defines the great rivalry. What were some of the characteristics you were looking at as you made your list?
Well, see, I had some other ones down that were like great matches, and I was like, man, that's awesome. But like the feud really wasn't good, and some was like matches we were at, so I'm like, I want to put that, but I'm like, I don't know, man, like that really, if you look at his 30-year career, is that feud one, is that rivalry one that you're like, that defines him or that other guy? So some of these guys on here, it's like this feud defined that guy, or defined that era, or defined that era of Taker's career. But a lot of them, it's down to the storytelling, obviously, and then the match quality, The match quality doesn't always have to be up there, but as long as the story is there, that's what I'm more motivated by, I think. So
That's interesting that you said maybe that rivalry defined the other guy in it.
Yeah.
Whether or not, maybe, but it didn't quite make it there for Undertaker. I think that's an interesting thought, and why some people are going to be left off of our list. That's a good way to point it out. But yeah, you got to look at the matches themselves, but it's also the promos. I think you're looking at the length of time, ones that really spanned, months, years, even, versus ones that maybe were hot for just one pay-per-view or two pay-per-views or something, even if it might have been really great. You're looking at people that really match up with Undertaker as far as the mind games go. It could really be a credible person who could go against them. So a lot of factors go into play here. I'm very intrigued. I'm always excited to see what your list is going to be as well, because you do always surprise me. We share a lot of the same opinions on here. We don't argue too much, but you do always surprise me there with your list. So very excited to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But first, we got to talk about our monthly Undertaker sightings. Always a favorite segment here to do on the podcast. And as usual, the Undertaker sightings this month are going to be brought to us by our friends over at Manscaped, baby. That's right. And if your greatest rival is your beard or your nose hair, your ear hair, your chest hair, your body hair, let me tell you about Manscaped. They are going to be there to take down that rivalry, to bury it alive. We want to encourage all you out there in the Pod Street Krew to join Travis and I as part of the Manscaped revolution, and head over to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping on everything in stock over at manscaped.com. Travis, summer's heating up. Your hair's getting longer here for the summer, but are you ready for Manscaped season here this summer?
Bro, this today. So we're going, as we record this, I'm going out of town to the beach in 2 days from now. And so today I was trimming up the burns, my sideburns with it. I trimmed my neck up with it. I had my wife here, double check me and just kind of catch the other parts I didn't get to. I said, that's true love right there, baby. A woman that'll shave your neck. The back of your neck, I'm talking about.
She's shaving it with this bad boy right here?
Use that bad boy right
with
there.
With the light?
Exactly. With the light. She shaved in the dark. I'm just kidding. We didn't.
Well, it's like Paul Bear's urn right here at SummerSlam 94. You turn this bad boy on and feel the power, man.
The power. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm Manscaped ready. I got the neck cleaned up, the sideburns cleaned up, got the chest hair cleaned up a little bit up here. Those of you who used to know me back in the day, it was just a hand coming out of here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm good to go. All shaved, ready to go, man.
Of course, we're talking about the lawnmower right here. That's what Travis used, and that's a low-key underrated feature of the lawnmower. Obviously, we know what Manscaped wants you to use it for, but the great thing about it is, like you said, you get that neck hair. You get your significant other to go back there with the neck hair, the chest hair, all over. That's what it's there for. You can use it in the shower.
I did the beak too. Not with that, with the other one.
Dude, that's dangerous. This thing is...
My nostrils are big enough to fit that in there, though.
I don't know about that. Of course, you are talking about the Weed Whacker. That's what you use for the nose hair and the ear hair. All of that could be yours as part of the Performance Package 4.0 with Manscaped. You get this sweet travel bag. Travis, I'm sure you'll be taking that to Hilton Head with you, packed with all your Manscaped gear. I know you'll be taking your Manscaped boxer shorts to Hilton Head.
I packed all 6 pair, baby. All 6. Today I'm not wearing them. I'm not going to wear them the next 2 days. I don't want to dirty them before I go. I want to wash them. So taking all 6 pairs of beach.
That's what you got to do there. Well, you hear us talk about Manscaped every time you listen to the podcast here, but I wanted to expand that. I know people might have heard everything that we have to say about Manscaped, but there's a friend of ours that has taken us up and used our code TakerEasy. He got the Performance Package 4.0, so I reached out to him, and he is one of the Undertaker. He hosts a podcast about one of the Undertaker's greatest rivals. Not a rival podcast of ours; they're a friend of ours. I'm talking about Mike Prew from the Bottom Line Wrestling Cast. I asked him if he would tell us about his experience using Manscaped now that he's used our promo code. He's picked up the Performance Package, what he thinks about it. Part of this was because he texted me last month. Last month we covered Mayhem in Manchester here on the podcast, and he said, bro, when you did the Manscaped plug, I thought you were going to talk about taking care of all that mayhem in your man chest hair. And I said, They should
How did I miss that?
They should be paying you the big bucks, man.
I know.
Better than anything I ever came up with.
Mayhem in your man chest there. Oh, how did I miss that?
That's
I'm
gold.
usually on with those.
I know.
Ah,
Well,
dang
here's what he said, his review. He said, Talking Taker listeners, you've heard Alex and Travis promote Manscaped for months now, and they've been really funny and creative with their pitches for Manscaped, and I'd like to provide my own testimony to let you know they're not blowing smoke up your, well, you know what. Gotta keep it clean here, which is what these Manscaped products can do for you. Alex and Travis are giving you that great deal, 20% off your purchase with free shipping with the code TAKEREASY at manscaped.com. I jumped at the opportunity, and I'm glad I did, as well as my wife, and I'll explain that in a bit. I ordered the Performance Package 4.0, and the price included our top notch in terms of quality. This included the Lawnmower 4.0, which came fully charged and ready to go upon arrival, which is true.
True.
I haven't even had to charge mine yet, and I use it all the time. Comes fully charged. It's a great trimmer, does excellent job cleaning your parts unknown. The Weed Whacker 2.0 is amazing. I've been driving my wife crazy for a while with my snoring, and I used the Weed Whacker 2.0, trimmed my nose hairs, and boom, the snoring went away immediately. How about
Dang.
that?
Who knew?
We cannot medically confirm that, but hey,
Right.
that's the facts from Mike Prue right there.
Smoking on nose hair.
He says, I bet you were thinking I meant my wife was happy about my clean parts unknown. It was the nose hairs and snoring. Get your mind out of the gutter. In addition to the hardware, I received the Crop Preserver and Reviver, the deodorant spray and toner to prevent chafing, and those have come in handy. They also give you a pair of top quality boxers. I think Manscaped throws that in so you can physically feel the difference in the products made on your dark side. As Mean Gene Okerlund said in regards to Brutus the Barber Beefcake at WrestleMania 4, what a package! And what a package this is. Don't let this one slip by. It's well worth it. This also helps out Alex and Travis, so please consider the offer. Head over to Manscaped, use the promo code TAKEREASY. It's that simple, and that's the bottom line. So, that is not just me and Travis talking about it. That is another satisfied customer who has used our code.
Awesome. Thank you, Prue, for that. That's awesome.
Oh,
Excellent.
outstanding.
Dad jokes, excellent puns. Very good. Thank you for the feedback. We love it.
Be like Mike, manscaped.com, and use the code TAKEREASY for 20% off and free shipping your entire order.
Boom.
And you know that's really the highlight of our Undertaker sightings this month, man. Is Mike's promo right there, because there's not a ton going on in the Undertaker. This is the first time in a while, and we haven't seen him on a podcast or an A&E show or anything. But Travis, you had a WWE sighting where you got to watch three guys. I don't know. Maybe I think at least one of them is going to be on your list here tonight.
Yeah.
Three guys that did face the Undertaker in great matches, though.
You think you know me?
I might know you a little bit. You went to SmackDown Live a couple weeks ago to see that awesome triple threat with Edge, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles. Tell us a little bit about the experience.
Oh, it was a great time, man. It was in Knoxville, which is an hour and a half from where I am. So, fortunately, I was at UT's basketball arena, so I had to go there. I haven't been to UT's basketball arena since 2001, I think. I went and saw Dave Matthews, so it's been a minute since I've been there.
Been a while.
But that was, hey, it's Taker. This is a Taker adjacent story. I think I've told this on this podcast before. When we in 2001, we got there and went to the concert late on purpose because Macy Gray was opening, and so we went to eat at Wendy's, and we actually saw a guy that has like, "You guys want to ride to the arena? I got a limo." He had a limousine. And we were like, sure. We gave him like $5 a piece, and we all rode in a limo. And he was like, yeah, I had Undertaker and Kane in here last weekend. And we were like, what? He's like, yeah, WWE was in town, or WWF at the time. Like, they were in town last weekend, Thompson Bowling, and I had Undertaker and Kane. We were looking around, we're like, this like stains everywhere, and like plastic cups, and the ceiling's falling out. Like, you did not have Taker and Kane. And he was like, yeah, it's Stone Cold and Taker and Kane back here. And we were like, okay. So I didn't even mean to tell that story on this podcast again, but that just happened to come up. So yeah. Same place, 20-something years later, I'm there.
That could have been Undertaker in 2001 with the dip cup.
It could have
been.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been. But anyway, great night, man. I took Trey, who went to SummerSlam with us last year, and then my buddy Chase,
he's in the vlog, the SummerSlam.
He's in the vlog, yeah. And Chase had never been to a live taping at all. This was his first, he's been to house shows, his first WWE televised taping at all of anything. So, big night for him. opening match. It's interesting being there now because they actually brought Ray and AJ out before the show goes on.
Yeah.
Because when SmackDown came on Fox, it was Edge's pyro and everything went on and they came in. So it was interesting to see. I was like, what's going on right now? But honestly,
they got the jobber entrance.
Right, they did. But honestly, when you're there, that night was packed with so much stuff to cram into that one night because Roman came back and they had the triple threat and they had two triple threats in the main event and they had a lot of stuff. Belair's championship celebration. They had a lot of stuff to pack into that one night. And it was the first night of all the new call-ups from NXT and from the draft. So a lot of stuff happened that night. But there's a really good reason that they did the way they did. But it was cool. Like even when you're watching from TV, it's kind of weird when like say AJ Styles comes out and then they cut to commercial and then you come back and the match is going or just starting. But like honestly, when you're there, it's really fun like to do that because then you got the guys in the ring the whole time. It used to be there was nothing happening in the ring during the commercial break and then the guys would come out. So it's actually kind of cool the way they do that when you're in the live setting. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, sure.
Seeing Edge, seeing Ray, because I haven't seen Edge since. I mean, I saw him at SummerSlam, but like we got to see him. You know, his last match for a championship was his last match for a championship. Yeah, when he had to retire the next 2 weeks later. So it was a really big deal for me to see him going for a title. And AJ, I've never seen him live. He's been in WWE for 7 years, and he was not at
crazy.
SummerSlam. And he's one of my favorites. And getting to see him was really cool. And then Ray, just Ray's always Ray. He's amazing. And there's a dark match, the Good Brothers versus the LWO, and Good Brothers were playing the heels. The crowd was hating Good Brothers, and they were playing perfect heels. But LWO is over so much, dude.
Yeah,
so over right now. And Ray wasn't even out there with them. It was just the two guys. I don't know their names, but they were so over. Awesome. And then AJ's getting a lot of heel heat from the Knoxville crowd, but they wound up coming on his side by the end of the main event and everything. But anyway, it was just different. But it was fun, man. It was a fun night. A lot of LA Knight shirts. He wasn't on the show, unfortunately, but we did a lot of yes with a lot of that and got people chanting that. I said yeah to about everybody when we walked out of the arena, and we were driving out of the parking lot, and I just rolled the window down, was going yeah, and everybody's going yeah. It was great. So, and then I have a Too Sweet update. From SummerSlam.
I was gonna say you got to follow up on that.
I got to follow up. So if you guys are following along, at SummerSlam, Alex has video proof of it. We try to Too Sweet people whenever I see somebody in an NWO shirt, and you get about 50-50. I mean, you'd say probably about
I'd say
if that that's high.
Maybe 2080.
Yeah, maybe maybe 2080. Because it's like guys that you're wearing it are like not ready for that, but I'm all for it, dude. I'm ready to Too Sweet you. So anyway, I was 5 for 5 with guys in NWO shirts, 100%, man, batting 1,000, and actually batting higher than that because 2 of the guys we did double Too Sweets too.
My.
So we were actually 7 for 5. that's pretty good odds.
That's some Steiner math right there.
Scott Steiner math, yeah. We were 7 for 5 or Too Sweets. Now I will say, there were 2 guys in an NWO shirt that I saw, but I couldn't get to. It was so crowded, the merch line, I couldn't get to them. So I guess that brings me back down to 5 for 5. So I couldn't get to them to even throw it up. But yeah, everybody, I was just like, Too Sweet me, bro, and they would give it to me. So, and in their defense, they were all a little older, about my age or whatnot. So not a lot of young kids wearing them. So, but it was fun, man. A blast of a night. Again, getting to see AJ and Bobby. Bobby got busted open real bad, so I'm surprised he went to the match. But fun night, really fun night. I had a good time, and hadn't been to SmackDown taping since you and I went in 2002.
Oh my gosh, 2003, 20 years ago.
Well, I went to SmackDown. I think it was.
Oh wow,
yeah,
lots changed.
So, lots changed since then. Yeah,
Rey
20
Mysterio
years.
was still there.
He was there. Edge probably was too, or he might have been injured. I don't remember.
Yeah, he might have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think he was out. I think he might.
It's weird to think that Ray was on the show.
Yeah, he's probably the only one.
Yeah.
But I mean, very lucky for you to have seen that match, dude. That's probably first time, last time, only time that match will ever take place. Because, I mean, you probably could have said this 10 years ago that I bet those guys won't be going for very much longer. But I mean, honestly, these guys, they can't be going for that much longer. All 3 of those guys, honestly. Edge cut that promo on social media saying, he's probably close to being done. I think AJ's talked about being close. Ray, surely he's close. So pretty cool. That's probably the only time that match will ever take place.
Yeah, I think so. And it was very special. Trust me, I was holding it near and dear to my heart. I got to see that match, man, and it's a very, very special night. So
Yeah, huge
very
match.
good stuff. And getting to see Roman in the Bloodline again was awesome. That's just the best storyline they've got going, and it's just the wrinkles in that story are amazing. So I just love it. So looking forward to what's coming next with them.
Very fun, man. Excited. I'm glad you're able to go. Thank you for that on the scene report there. Like I said, Taker hasn't been anywhere. He hasn't been doing anything. But I did want to mention, I saw this floating around social media. Didn't think I'd be talking about this, but Omos, the giant, he was on the
Nigerian giant.
There you go, on the Chris Van Vliet podcast, and I did not listen to the whole thing. I just saw this clip, but not a fan of this guy at all. I don't care for him. Don't care about watching him. But this clip made me still not a fan of him, but it did make me respect him a little bit, and it heightened my interest in him a little bit, because he was talking about how he was a fan of the Undertaker. He really liked the big boot into Snake Eyes combo that, of course, we pointed out, Undertaker, one of his signature combo moves. And he actually reached out to Undertaker and talked to him and asked him if he had permission to add that into his arsenal. And Undertaker gave him the blessing. And they show a clip of him doing it on Seth Rollins at the last pay-per-view at Backlash. I just thought it was really cool because, like, it's not like he was using the tombstone or the choke slam or anything. Like, so he probably didn't even need to reach out to do something like that. But it showed me that he is a fan, which I didn't think I even realized. I thought he's just like some guy they recruited, but like turns out, okay, maybe he's doing some research and he actually is a fan and appreciates things, and he knows enough and respects the business and respects Taker enough,
the man,
that he's gonna reach out before he does something like that. And I was like, you know what, I really respect that, and I respect him a lot more knowing that about him.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. You shared that with me, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I still couldn't care less about the guy in the ring.
Right.
I mean, the bell rings and it sucks to me, but yeah, the fact that he did that as a human is awesome, man. And Taker said, sure, why not? I'm not doing it anymore. So yeah, it was the Snake Eyes, and then around some of the ropes and hit the big boot, and it was great. And Seth took it like a champ, dude. That was a great clip. So yeah, you got to respect almost whatever his name is for being able to, to have the respect for Taker to do that. So pretty cool.
And 15, 20 years ago, those guys would have had a 3-month program, 3 pay-per-view program against each other too. Without question.
Not even that long. Just a couple. If Taker was still wrestling right now, 3, 4, they'd be getting every single Saudi show. It'd be Taker and Almost as an attraction. So
casket match, no doubt. Triple wide casket, maybe. Well, speaking of decades ago, I did think we could mention here, lastly, a match that we're not going to do an episode on, but it is a match that has been definitely going to be celebrated and looked back at a lot this month. We actually did a special on it for the 20th anniversary. I'm talking about Hell in a Cell from King of the Ring 1998, Undertaker versus Mankind. It's the 25-year anniversary now. I think we covered it on the 20-year anniversary, saying, well, we're not going to get to the 25-year anniversary. We're not still going to be doing this podcast, but you know what? Here we are. But I would encourage people to go listen to that. We did a watch along for that and did running commentary for that match. But I think it is definitely, if not the number one, it's got to be in the top 3 most famous Undertaker matches ever. That match. And just ask you, Travis, man, 25 years later, what do you think the impact of that match is just on pro wrestling, on the Undertaker's career? What is that match's legacy here in 2023?
It's the standard bearer for Hell in a Cell, like it or not. Unfortunately, I guess you could say, because the bar was set so high. Again, your and I's favorite Hell in a Cell is the original, and that was our number 1 match of all time here. So, So again, this match is not in our upper echelon of them, but as far as looking at the business itself, like, that raised the bar for WCW. It took ECW had to raise the bar too, and they were already raising the bar. So it just brought the whole business up to a new level. Again, for better or worse, it brought the whole business up to a new level. Like, well, crap, what do we got to do next to wow the people in the audience? And also, it defined it. It helped turn Mick Foley into a babyface. He was kind of already, because just the month before, we just watched that match with Dude Love, right? and Taker was on the outside, and he
Oh,
was a
wow.
heel. And so,
Yeah, it is just a
it was
month
literally
before that.
the month before. So that's
Yeah.
why it feeds into that. So it's just he gets sympathy, and he's going to become a huge baby face and win the title in January of '99. So I think just it was a turning point for him in his career, and probably a turning point backstage for him too. Because again, glorified bump guy. That's all everyone ever said. And yes, that match showed that, but it showed more because he came out multiple times, and he came out at the end of the show to do what he didn't need to do. And so I just think it just raised the bar for better or worse for the business in and of itself. And again, it's iconic. Jim Ross, that's probably Jim Ross's most famous call.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's iconic for
arguably,
him too.
yeah. So just the whole thing, the visual, the way it was shot with him, it's just iconic. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, there's very few matches in history that will be remembered and looked back on as much as that one is. That it's one of those like Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3. I think Hell in a Cell, Undertaker and Mankind is one of those that,
it overshadows any other Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not 5 stars, not like
at all.
Hogan Andre is not 5 stars, but the whole spectacle of it.
Yes.
Hogan and Warrior,
moment.
Same thing. Yeah, the moment of it. It's one of those that's just going to be 50 years from now. People will still talk about it and look at it, and it will probably still never be topped. It is one of those, like, unless you actually kill somebody throwing them off of the ring or anything like that, you literally cannot top that. And what else can you say about that?
Taker hung a guy in Hell in a Cell,
and it still wasn't. It still didn't top this.
Exactly.
And I think it really. I know there were other. I know the war wasn't over yet between WWE and WCW. They still traded some ratings wins back and forth after this. But to me, I really think it was a turning point. A line in the sand as far as wrestling fans, because yes, WCW was still very popular, and even a couple months after this they had Rodman and Malone, and that made a lot of money, and that was still very popular, and Goldberg won the title a few months later. But I think just the whole realism and the intensity of that, as wrestling fans, there's no going back. It's still fun to watch basketball players wrestle, or Jay Leno wrestle. I guess maybe that's fun to some people, but I mean, I don't know if I'm really saying it right, but just WWF felt more real and intense, and it's serious. Whereas WCW was, still could be fun, but it cannot match up to what the Hell in a Cell is, and it helped really cement that. And really, WCW never reached that heights, and no one has. So
no,
I think that's part of its legacy as well.
Absolutely. Do
you remember where you were when you first heard about it or watched it?
Well, I would have read the spoiler or the results online that night, and probably, I'm sure you and I talked the next day about it. Because did you watch it? I don't know. I know we talked about it, and then I don't know, on Raw that night they probably showed. They didn't show the video clip. They probably showed the aftermath and still frames. But yeah, I remember reading it online and it's being like, what? What is happening? He's dead? I just don't know. And then I remember getting the Eve of Destruction DVD next year, and that match was on it, and along with the tag team ladder match from No Mercy '99. And those two matches are two of my favorites of the '90s, just because of the age I was and how they stood out to me. And those matches put the opponents in the matches on a new level. Brought them up. I mean, this match put Taker from just being, he was a killer, dude. After this match.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd already quote unquote killed and dead and this and that. But bury people. He was about to kill Mankind. And Mankind took it all, So it's put both of them and just raised their stock. Like I said, for better or worse. You ask Jim Ross, he's like, it's the worst thing ever, because now how do you go back? You have to kill someone to wow people.
It's true.
So, it's a double-edged sword.
And I said this before, I think I think Mankind showed, with Mr. Sacco and with everything that came after this, he
That's all you
still
need.
could be sometimes, that's probably what got him more over than anything. But
Yeah.
it's hard to say that too, because,
Yeah. Would he have had that opportunity had he not shown this, from Hell in a Cell?
Probably not, but he did show he could get over with comedy just as much as the insane spots. But like I said, we've got a great watch along for it in the archives. I'll throw that up there at the top of the podcast feed as well. I'll bump that up there for people to listen to here for the 25-year anniversary. I don't know if it's still on Peacock, but I know on the WWE Network they had a whole Mick Foley stand-up special just talking about Hell in a Cell. I encourage people to go find that if it is still out there. Who knows, what they're taking off streaming these days. But that was very enjoyable, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of other great content talking about that here for the 25th anniversary of that match. But Mankind definitely got to be in the conversation here, and I don't think that's a spoiler to say here in our top 10 rivals. Where will he sit? Where will he go on there? Time will tell here as Travis and I gather up our list. We're going to go back and forth like we do on these top 10s and give each other's lists and analyze them and talk about who deserves to be on there. I don't remember who started last time we did a top 10.
I have no idea.
No, rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot? Okay, let's go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Just came out of the way. Okay, you call it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissor me. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock me.
We both rocked it.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh,
you got me.
All right. Does that mean I go first or second?
I don't know. I guess it's your choice.
I'll go first. Okay.
All right.
All right. Top 10 Undertaker rivals. Like we said, we're factoring in everything here. I'm factoring in the longevity of it, the impact of it on Undertaker's career, the match quality, the promo quality, all of these different things in there that's going into my decision. And I'll go ahead and say this, my number 10 pick. This one is a sentimental one. This one is one that I squeezed in there because it means a lot to me. It's probably not on most people's top 10 list, and I would agree with that. But it isn't on there for me, and it doesn't necessarily fit all those other qualifications because it's not a very long one. But it is an early one, an important one, and that to me, if you've listened to me talk about this on the show before, you might know I'm talking about Yokozuna. He is my number 10 rival for The Undertaker, and I picked this because it is sentimental to me. This is when I was really becoming a hardcore fan, and I think that's why it means more to me. It felt like a bigger deal to me at 7 and 8 years old, maybe it did to other people. But I do think Yoko was really, besides Hulk Hogan, I guess, was really the first guy that I think matched up to Undertaker. You had him going through guys like Kamala, Giant Gonzalez, Nails, Papa Shango, whoever he was facing on house shows or whatever. But Yoko really matched up with Taker. They matched up in the ring. They had better matches than they had any right to have in the ring. But he was that intimidating presence that could defeat The Undertaker. And it may have taken a dozen guys to help him do it, but he did put him in the casket, and he did put Undertaker away for almost a year. And then, of course, Taker comes back, and they have their return casket match. But those matches felt like the first big Undertaker matches as a babyface. He had the stuff with Hogan, of course, but these were a big deal. Him in the main event against somebody who could go toe-to-toe with him, who was a huge, intimidating presence. And so that's why Yokozuna is number 10 for me. I couldn't rank him any higher, but to me it was important to recognize him because it's a huge rivalry, in my opinion. So that's why he's my number 10.
Dude, I knew he'd be on your list because of all the reasons you said, but I didn't know where. I didn't know where he was going to rank for you. So I
can't rank him any higher because it's just the two matches. But
you're right. Longevity and the whole the moment again, but the ascension into the heavens or whatever, just all that is just iconic. So
we've talked so many times about those promos building the casket. I mean, those are iconic and legendary. And so
I was interested to see where that was going to fall. I'll spoiler alert, he's not on mine at all.
No, I didn't think it would be.
But he was probably number 11. Like I was sketching people that didn't quite make it, but he's probably number 11 for me because of all reasons you said. So my number 10 is actually kind of, I don't know if this is cheating or not, but it's Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Corporation. It's that entity as and of itself, because so many guys he fed through to Taker basically, but just to get him, like guys you just mentioned, and always wanting to get the urn and melt it down and this and that and the other, and just Ted DiBiase is the one who brought him in to the company, but then he also feuded with him for a long time. Again, not in the ring, but with his cronies. So I just felt like that has played such a pivotal role in the early part of him of when Taker's a babyface. Played such a pivotal role in those early years once he turns face, just of defining who the character was and just getting him signature wins and signature matches over. So I hope it's not cheat, but that's my $1 Million Corporation / Ted DiBiase, just him of itself.
Man, I don't think it's a cheat because I've got some things like that on my list here in a little bit. But, dude, I had him in my list at one point, and I ended up bumping him down because, like for a couple of year span, that is who Undertaker is feuding with. It goes through IRS and Kama and King Kong Bundy, the Undertaker. It's all goes back to Ted DiBiase.
Exactly.
And like you said, you've got the tie from Survivor Series 1990, that tie in there. For me, why I bumped it down is because those matches sucked.
Sure, absolutely.
It was a long rivalry, but to me, it didn't. It ended up not being some of the best high quality stuff, but I think it's definitely it was in the consideration for me because of the span of it. And the fact that Ted DiBiase was intent on taking down the Undertaker. So
he was kind of like the Emperor Palpatine behind this, like just pulling the strings of all the different Vaders he had and stuff. I just felt like it just really warranted. Like I say, it really was helped establish that character when he turned babyface. So, but matches they blew. They were awful. They were awful. But I just felt the story was so important.
Sure.
So,
no, I respect
that.
Okay, interesting. Number 9 for me is someone who Undertaker did face him in the ring, but it was more of an outside figure. And maybe this is a little low, but I just couldn't slot him above anybody else. To me, number 9 was Mr. McMahon, Undertaker rival. And I picked this because, again, much like with Ted DiBiase, Mr. McMahon is a guy who tied in with Undertaker for a long stretch of time, more on the outside than on the inside of the ring, although he did win the Buried Alive match to end the Dead Man, or the Biker Taker character, and bring back the Dead Man. But look at 98. We all think of Vince versus Austin, but Vince versus Taker is a huge part of that. We covered it on the Over the Edge pay-per-view. Yep, they're in cahoots. Ministry of Darkness. I mean, that begins through Undertaker and McMahon. Burning Vince's teddy bear, kidnapping Stephanie, all that stuff. And then fast forward to 2016 with.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Lockbox.
The Lockbox, Undertaker and Shane and all that. And I think that's why I had to bump it down a little bit lower, is because there's such a big gap. There's really nothing there between 2003 and 2016. If there was even just a little bit more of that, I probably would have ranked it higher. And also because when you think of Vince, you think of Vince and Austin. You don't think of Vince and Taker.
Right.
But as we watched it, it is huge. It is a big part of it. One of my favorite things we ever did and saw, it happened so many times, it was like a running joke, was Vince would always step up to Taker and act like he was real tough, and then bow up to him and always eat a choke slam. Always, when the Biker Taker debuts, and he gets that choke slam on Vince, and Vince just tries to shuffle away real scared at that Judgment Day pay-per-view. That's a classic moment. So someone who's intertwined there, I think he's a bigger rival than a lot of people think about. That's why I put Mr. McMahon at number 9.
I can't fault you for that. It's good. He was my number 12, honestly. Yokozuna and Vince were number 12 and 11 for me, honestly. Okay. So I couldn't put them up there. But I didn't even think about 2016 though. I'm like, that's good. I didn't think about that. But Vince is always there. Again, like you said, 98 is defined by Austin McMahon, but Taker is right there, dude. People forget about him the whole time, and he's right there in the middle of it. And that's how they build to the Highway to Hell match, it culminates, at SummerSlam. So yeah, absolutely. It's
And
no fault for that.
we all know their real life relationship too.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
saw that in the last Ride series, and it kind of bleeds into what they do on TV too.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, my number 9 is very similar to my number 10. It's a guy who's kind of always in the back pulling strings and having people sticking them on Taker, which actually goes back to his WCW days because this guy used to manage him. This is Mr. Paul Heyman.
Yes.
So I got Paul Heyman. I'm assuming by your head nod he's on your list somewhere, maybe. So we'll see. But let's name the guy. I mean, Brock, obviously, CM Punk. Was when Big Show was with him, did he feud with him? I don't remember.
No.
But Dudley Boys.
Dudley Boys.
I know, but again, that match, those two guys were just a conduit to get, that was all
Absolutely.
Heyman and Taker. So, again, Brock and, ever since Brock beat the streak, Heyman has rubbed that in. And then they had, when Brock was with him, after that, too, when Taker came back. And I just can't not put Paul Heyman on here because it goes back to WCW when he used to manage him. And just the more we covered this, we were like, wait a minute, Paul Heyman is a guy he feuded with because he just had his cronies doing his dirty work for him. But the main feud would be with Heyman. So, I just felt like I couldn't get through this top 10 without saying Paul Heyman. So,
well, I couldn't either. He's my number 8.
There you go.
I just have him one slot
right.
ahead of you for all those same reasons. Yeah, he is a guy pulling the strings, and so much of his rise as the premier manager, and this, he's still to this day one of the main characters on WWE TV. You can tie that back to him managing Brock defeating the streak. That elevated Brock to who he is. It elevated Paul Heyman too.
Exactly.
Paul Heyman's always been great, but that took him to another level as well. And yeah, that back-to-back years with him and CM Punk, going up against the streak. He
dressed up as Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer. That's right.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman just brings it every time. He makes something intense and believable. Even something as crappy as the Concrete Crypt, Paul Heyman was able to sell it and get you invested in it, even if it didn't make sense, even if it ended up being one of the worst matches of all time. He brought the same intensity to that as he does to the Bloodline every single week. So, I think you have to put him in the top 10.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Especially as time goes on, you sit back and think about it. But that's your number 8. Well, my number 8 is somebody who a lot of people probably have higher on their list, but this is somebody who we just mentioned a few minutes ago. But this is Mr. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Whoa.
I got him down here at number 8. Again, you can't. We've said everyone thinks of the Attitude Era and think of Rock, and obviously you think of Rock, you think of Austin and Vince. But Taker is such a big part of all those storylines, 97, 98, 99. He's right there. If the top 2 guys are here, he's right below, whether it's Shawn and Brett, whether it's Vince and Austin, whatever it is, he's right. He's the tier right below, helping facilitate that top story as well, So, so I don't want to sleep on Taker's involvement in all this because, again, it culminates in the Highway to Hell match at SummerSlam, which, again, we've talked about their actual matches on pay-per-view. Austin and Taker weren't that great. Their Raw matches, house show matches, those were fantastic. Was it one of the highest rated segments, one of their matches on Raw?
Number 1.
D. Yeah, so again, and Taker wins the title from him. Was that his second title? Third, right? Yeah. So, it's just, again, a forgotten time period.
And all blends together.
Yeah, but I obviously could not put Stone Cold, but he's a lot lower than some people might have him because I don't know, their matches and their feud was just part of a bigger story. I felt like it wasn't really focused on them. So, but we got some cool stuff with Paul Bearer trying to cut Austin's pants off in the morgue and all that stuff,
Time
those
to
outtakes.
Embalm him alive. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Stone Cold comes in at number 8 for you. Okay. All right. We'll get to him in a minute here for me. Number 7 for me, probably, lower on my list than he is on other people's list. But gosh, it's just, we're getting into the heavy hitters here. It's tough even at number 7 to try to sort all this out. But number 7 for me, Went with Mankind all the way down to number 7, but you got to include Mankind on the list here. He was, we joke about it. Commentary always says, "Oh, this is the first time we've ever seen Undertaker beaten like this. It's the first time we've seen somebody match up with him like this." Mankind really was, and he came in there in 1996 and took Undertaker down like nobody ever had before.
Ever,
defeating him, I think, two or three pay-per-views in a row, dominating him like we'd never seen before, turning the Undertaker's manager against him, turning Paul Bearer against him because he was that strong of a force. And then, of course, they're tied together forever in history because of Hell in a Cell, 1998. And honestly, I'm already thinking, maybe should have been higher, as I'm saying all those things. And I guess for me, I don't know, the only thing I could think of was just longevity of it. Maybe is the only reason I didn't put it any higher, because it is a short period of time. And, after that Hell in a Cell, they never faced each other again. And it would have been cool to see them really through the ages do some more stuff. Of course, Mankind, his career, he did wrestle a good bit longer, but maybe just as a part-timer. But, I mean, just incredible impact, somebody who matched up against him. There was a whole great A&E special about their rivalry. It was that good on there. But I don't know, man. I just had it at number 7. I couldn't put it personally against some of these other ones.
Yeah, dude, this was the hardest part. Like I said, the almost the 7 through 2 were the hardest, or 7 through 3 were the hardest ones for me. It's just like, I said top 5, but honestly, if I said you could interchange any of these guys on any given day. In fact, I just switched 2 of mine and then switched them right back because I was like, no, don't second guess yourself. So I just switched my 7 and 6, but I'm gonna go back to my regular number 7. So my number 7 is somebody who's probably obviously higher on yours, but when we higher on some other people's too. But this is Paul Bearer.
Okay.
Paul Bearer himself is number 7 for me. So again, they never really had. I mean, they obviously feuded. Again, brought in Kane. The Undertaker stuff, the Mankind stuff first, then brought in Kane, Vader had him against him, and just the story that weaves back and forth, the on again, off again with Paul Bearer, again, another Emperor Palpatine type guy just pulling strings behind him. So you got DiBiase, Paul Heyman, and Paul Bearer, all these kind of dark Siths in the background pulling, using their cronies to fight this honorable Jedi, or whatever. So anyway, it's just very. I couldn't get to this list without putting Paul Bearer, even though they never had a one-on-one a pay-per-view encounter. They did have that. They had that crappy match on. No, who Paul Bearer had a match with?
Big Show.
Yeah,
Big Show.
But Bearer. You can't get to this without it. But there's so much to be said for it. Taker wouldn't be Taker without Paul Bearer. What's his name? Brother Love wouldn't have. I don't know if this character would have lasted with Brother Love. So Paul Bearer really put the icing on the cake, solidified this character as what it was, and then again just stabbed him in the heart, stabbed him in the back, stabbed him in the heart again, stabbed him in the back again. Just so much on again, off again. Was he his dad? Was he not his dad? Who knows? So much. Slept with his mom. Just weird stuff happening. So got to go with Paul Bearer here. So.
Oh, you do have to, and he's one of those things that makes a great rival in anything, in any situation, is that they were originally friends. And for whatever reason, the friendship splits. And these guys were basically family to each other on screen. And to see their split just makes the rivalry even more intense and more personal. So, absolutely. Number 6 for me, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in your top 3 or top 2 even. But number 6 for me is Edge. I had to put him there because... this one is shorter than a lot of other rivalries, and it really only spans less than a year. But the quality of it outshines that. And this whole feud with Edge in 2007 into 2008, first of all, the matches were fantastic. Some of the best matches Taker ever had, especially, that late in his career. But we talked about this when we covered it all. This felt the most like the best of the Attitude Era was this Undertaker Edge stuff. It took us back to that. Watching it on the show for the podcast was first time I'd seen a lot of this stuff because we weren't we weren't watching hardcore back there in 2007, 2008. So I saw a lot of this stuff for the first time, and binge watching it, I think, made it even better to see it all take place. Get to watch it so quickly. But Edge becomes this monster. He becomes this, comic book villain. He brings in La Familia, Vicky Guerrero, and all of that, and he gets these massive wins against Undertaker. And that's part of what makes a great rivalry too, is it wasn't one-sided.
Exactly.
Edge was able to get the big win at One Night Stand and put Undertaker in his career, basically.
Right.
But then Taker comes back, all the twists and turns. Edge basically turns into the Joker on TV, and Undertaker comes back, defeats him in Hell in a Cell. But it was so personal, so good. It really elevated Edge. It really helped to cement him as a main eventer. And I think, I'm not saying it saved Undertaker's career, because it didn't need saving, but he hadn't been doing much 2006, 2005. Not much high quality. He had the stuff with Batista, which was great, but then this Edge stuff came after that and really boosted him and gave him an incredible run on top. So that's why I got Edge on number 6.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, you're right. He's on my list coming up. So, you said outshine, man. And Edge that summer, dude, he was looking California but feeling Minnesota, because he was looking good. But that whole thing, the whole Batman thing, to me, just the Joker and the Batman, and Edge literally says he got part of his character from Heath Ledger's Joker that summer, which is funny because on Raw, Chris Jericho got his character from Antoine Chigurh or whatever from No Country for Old Men, also with a little bit of Joker too mixed in there, just as far as the commitment to character. So again, those are the two storylines that defined Raw and SmackDown that whole year, and to me, they're two of the best storylines that Dirty's ever produced. I just love it. And they elevated all the guys in it. Shawn was already a made man. Taker's already a made man. But you put Jericho, he'd already been a world champion, but you put him on another level on Raw. And this put Edge on another level on SmackDown. He'd already been world champion too. But having that match and that feud and wins over Taker, as a side note, there was an interview with Busted Open with John Cena last week, and he was talking about how he thinks that Roman Reigns is better than him, because when he would feud with people, of course, everything is well, I bury people. He's like, no, I didn't bury people, but when they would get done feuding with me, I didn't elevate them necessarily, because I'm not burying them, but my character was built to just keep going. He said, but look at what Roman Reigns has done in the last 3 years. You had all these new guys main event WrestleMania with the Bloodline and Sami and KO. You brought them up to main event. They could main event any house show anywhere in the world and be that. You brought up Daniel Bryan and Edge. The main event WrestleMania is Brock again. But he's brought up these guys in the Bloodline, brought up all these ancillary characters that wouldn't have been main eventers
Solo,
now. Solo Sikoa as well. Put Drew McIntyre, help put him, solidify him as a main. Just all these guys. He's gone against Seth on a bigger stage too. But just look at all these guys you brought up and made bona fide. When this storyline's done, Jey Uso could be a main eventer at the end of this. Sami and KO can now, taken seriously. He's like, I never did that at all. He's like, and so Roman is greater than me. I'm saying that to say that this storyline with Edge, Taker put Edge on that upper echelon. Absolutely. In my opinion, it helped put him on that, and he got to main event against his boy Taker, and was going to be offered to win, and he said no thanks. So obviously it's coming up later for me, but I kudos to putting that on your.
It's got to be on there. Has to be.
Yeah. Number 6 for me is Luther Reigns. No,
of course.
Speaking of Roman Reigns, Uncle Luther. No, it's the game, Triple H.
Okay.
So the only three-peat opponent for Taker at Mania, right? He had 2 with Kane, and had 3 with Triple H. All 3 fantastic matches. We were there for the middle one. Love it. Still match of the night for me. I absolutely love it. But just they from helping create DX on accident, kind of. Taker had a hand in that. He did with the storyline, to just the way the whole 97, 98, 99, the way that all flowed in each other, their careers just kept crossing paths. And then you get 2001 with the match at X7. You get the 27, that great match, the way that Taker won the match, but Triple H walked out. So they had to finish the story the next year, how it all culminated in that Hell in a Cell, piggybacking off of the matches with Shawn and everything. It's just, I love it, man. And again, those 2 guys sold a match at WrestleMania without saying one word. Name me 2 other guys have ever done that. Ever. You can't. You can't. So, yeah, that was incredible. And, again, their matches, I appreciate them so much more now looking back on them than I did at the time. But they're so fantastic. So I got to go with Triple H.
And then, it continued on into the Super Showdown, SmackDown Under.
It's true.
And then Crown Jewel, of course, which we have committed to talking about here
Yep.
later this year. But, yeah, dude, I mean, Triple H, some of the best Undertaker matches, some of Triple H's best matches, period, as well, against Undertaker. And their careers are intertwined with each other, without question. Number five, top 5 for me. I went with someone you had a little bit lower. I went with Stone Cold Steve Austin as my number 5. Like you said, the matches didn't always live up to the hype, but the hype for some of their matches was off the charts.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
I've said it before, that Highway to Hell storyline with Stone Cold Undertaker, one of my favorite
That was your
builds
jam.
to
Yeah.
a match of all time. I love it so much. And I believe we did the numbers, and these guys faced each other more on pay-per-view than anybody, which is either of their own opponents, which you forget about. And I think that's why I put it lower, because it's sometimes, even as great as it was and as important it was, it wasn't always the best for either of these guys, but it was hugely important. And we think of Austin and Rock, but really Austin and Taker carried so much of that stuff through 98, 99, and then into the Biker Taker, into the Invasion. The Brothers of Destruction against the two-man power trip. I mean, that carried things, and then into 2002, they faced each other again with Ric Flair as the referee, and they probably could have had more. It's a shame that Austin's career ended the way it did, because I could have seen these guys fighting again into 2003, 2004, 2005. However, Austin's career probably could have gone another few more years if he'd done things a little bit differently. But I wish we could have seen even more of it, because they deserve to have even more time with each other. But the ones that they had were intense, were incredibly epic. Like you mentioned them, setting the cable ratings record for wrestling with their match against each other. So many awesome moments and promos and stare downs. It's hard to match up with Stone Cold Steve Austin when he was running as hot as he was, but the Undertaker could do it. So that's why I've got Stone Cold as my number 5.
There you go. Top 5, man. No doubt. My number 5 is somebody you already mentioned. It's Mankind. I just had him up there. Again, the matches, in my opinion, with Triple H are better, but the story with Mankind, just the way he came in and immediately got thrust into the spotlight and beat Taker the first time. And we've talked about it, that they was told the Taker should win. Taker said no. Like, if I win, where do we go from there? So Taker going to bat for
Smart.
him and making that last longer is great. And it really I just kind of love the screw you it was to Vince, where this guy got over. It was supposed to be a screw you to Jim Ross, but Taker helped Mankind get over. And as far as the second month he was there, he's main event against Shawn, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's only a 2-year run, 96, 98 when they actually faced, but just iconic moments. That Boiler Room Brawl, again, we joke about it and how you watch it on your substitute teacher's TV when you're in the arena, but we went back and watched it the other day, or talking about it with the A&E biography or whatever it was on it. Just how game changing that was, at the time, and just it really did change a lot of things in the business and open up open Pandora's box for what was available, to come next. So a lot of iconic moments, but good stuff right there. Here's my number 5. Number 5.
I probably should have had him at 5 instead of Stone Cold, but I think that's a great choice. He deserves to be top 5, no question. Number 4 for me, someone you had earlier on your list, I had a little bit higher. Paul Bearer is my number 4 Undertaker rival, and like I said earlier, what makes a great rival is that personal issue, that personal connection. Doesn't get more personal than the relationship between Undertaker and Paul Bearer. I mean, he raised him, worked in the funeral home with him. He had relations with his mama and sired his half brother Kane. But just the turn from on him at SummerSlam 96, it was so shocking, so out of nowhere, so devastating. And I mentioned we were talking about that, like that in someone else's hands, that could have been like, a 3-month program. Like, he turns heel, he brings somebody against Undertaker, he loses, and then he's gone. But Paul Bearer was so good that he kept it alive. He didn't only bring in Mankind, he brought in Vader, brought in the Executioner unfortunately, and then just carried that rivalry with Undertaker with these promos throughout 1997, building up Kane, brings Kane in, and helps Kane become a Hall of Fame character in his rivalry against Undertaker. And then we see the rivalry ignited yet again in 2010 when Paul Bearer returns briefly to manage Kane again. So I love that it came back full circle, came back around again, a decade later after that. But so many memorable moments, so many memorable promos. Paul Bearer, William Moody, the man, really elevated it and brought it to another level. And to be able to turn that he'd be on the Undertaker's greatest allies list. To be able to turn that into one of the greatest rivals, you have to put him there near the top.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt, man. So that's number 4.
Number 4 for me.
All right, my number 4, who is so man. See, 4 and 3 for me. It's just so hard. These top ones are tough, but this is the guy who the next big thing, who ended the streak, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He's my number 3. He's my number 4. So you could ask me tomorrow, he could be number 3. I don't know, but yeah, just first of all, he ended the streak. Enough said, right there. I mean, whether you agree with it or not, there's only one guy who ended the streak. Now, yeah, Taker lost again to Roman Reigns, the guy who probably should have lost the streak too, but it doesn't matter. You only get one chance to defeat the streak. Brock Lesnar got it. Just solidified him as the guy in the WWE, and he's only gone on to bigger and better things since then. But Brock is in the next year, and in 2002, dude. Taker put Brock on the map with that Hell in a Cell and the biker chain stuff the next year, and just helping get this guy really, because he saw him as Vince's the next big thing. Unfortunately, Brock took his ball, went home, and then came back 10 years later. But Taker's a business guy. He saw this guy is going to be it for the face of the company. They thought Brock over Cena, obviously, because Cena wasn't really there yet, so wasn't really the guy yet. So Brock, be interesting to see if he stayed back in 2004, what his career would have been. But Taker getting that win over Taker at No Mercy 2002, standing up there bloody on top of the cell. That's one of our favorite matches, dude. Like, it's so good, And just all the stuff 13 years later in 2014 and 2015, and it's just great stuff. And they always had good matches. They had good chemistry. Taker could sell for Brock. Brock would sell for Taker. Two guys that don't sell for many people because their characters don't warrant it. But and again, just he ended the streak, dude. So what needs to be said?
Well, I'll say a little bit more because he's my number 3 right
right
now. I got him on there for all your same reasons. And I said earlier, what makes a great rivalry is that it's back and forth. Well, sometimes when you're talking about the Undertaker's rivals, what made Brock a great rival was that Brock was so dominant and early on, and Undertaker really just got that one win at SummerSlam 2015 where which was
kind of fluky, right?
Kind of fluky, but you had the one guy who Undertaker just couldn't get over the hump and defeat, and so you were just pulling for him and needing him to overcome this monster, to get that monkey off his back and finally defeat Brock, and that's
nobody else.
Brock a rival.
Nobody else could put Taker in a situation. Nobody else was believable enough character-wise. Maybe Kane for a while, but that was already done in '98. So the only guy that's ever put Taker in such a dire situation that he never really got the actual clean win over him was Brock. It's crazy.
You knew anytime, whether it's 2002, 2003, 2014, 2015, anytime they put these two guys on the marquee, it was going to be a banger. It was gonna be a main event level quality match. You know, it was gonna be important and memorable. You know, even their worst matches are still really, really good. You know, even with Undertaker concussed throughout the WrestleMania match, they still are able to hold it together. And yeah, I mean, that is the signature moment. The signature defeat of the Undertaker's career comes at the hands of Brock Lesnar. So you have to consider him as one of his greatest rivals, to be able to steal the streak away from him. He's the greatest villain, and there are still many Undertaker fans who legitimately hate Brock Lesnar for that.
Can't watch that match.
Well, they hate the fact that they stole the streak. So how could you not consider him one of his greatest rivals? I think you have to put him right there.
Yeah. When you get shoot angry and stay angry for 10 years over it, that says something. Yeah, well, my number 3 is somebody you already said. Again, probably a little too high for some people, but it's my list. This is Edge. You know, 2008 was defined by those two. And again, I have a soft spot for this just because I love both guys. And once we went back through it with a fine-tooth comb and I got to watch the actual storytelling of it and the little nuances, the small things, that promo where Edge sat on the outside and they shot him from like the rampway. Remember that? And he sat. Was just incredible work. And again, I missed in 2008. I wasn't watching SmackDown really because to me SmackDown sucked. But I didn't know what I was missing. I didn't know I was missing how cool this storyline was. You know, it's so good. It's the little things and just how crazy Edge goes. And yeah, he gets definitive wins over Taker too. And then it's back and forth, and it's just so good. I could talk all day about it, but Edge is my number 3. Again, ask me tomorrow, maybe Brock will be. I don't know, but whatever. But Edge, for right now, Edge is number 3, and I'm going to stick with it. So.
No, I figured he would be, and again, the high quality, even if it's over a short period of time, and the memorability of it.
The callbacks, and just the callbacks, and so and then the Batista match and stuff, too. Like, the callbacks, too, with it. It's just so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Storytelling wise.
Edge is perfect at that. He's always been
great.
He's
the perfect heel.
Yep. Okay. My number 2.
2 and 1. Let's get through there. It's 2 guys we haven't said.
Well, all right. This is my most controversial take right here. And some people are going to think it's cheating. Okay. I don't think it's a cheat because I'm not saying it's a tie. I think if I was saying this was a tie, I think that would be cheating. But it's not. I'm doing these two as a unit right here. Okay. I'm going to try to explain it. You can call me out if you think this is BS, but my number 2 rival for Undertaker is DX. Triple H and Shawn Michaels as a unit. Because I think their rivalry spans their connection with each other.
Sure.
And I think that's solidified by, you know, the 4-match series. It ties in both of them. There at the end, it's Shawn and Hunter against the Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell. Shawn's the referee, but it's Shawn and Hunter against the Undertaker inside the Hell in a Cell, and the whole rivalry is building towards that. And then again in Saudi Arabia, what is it? It's DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. It comes together full circle to that moment. So we learned when we were doing the podcast, DX formed. Their unit formed because Shawn was afraid of the Undertaker getting revenge on him from SummerSlam 97. And so that's why he has to get back up. And that's where DX forms. We have these incredible matches with Shawn Michaels, and then the incredible matches with Triple H after that. But I think when you combine those forces together, when you take it as a whole, their whole rivalry as a story, to me, I couldn't separate the two of them. I didn't do it as a way to get more people on my list. I really I think the rivalry is Shawn and Hunter. I think that's what makes it so deep and so powerful. And that's why I went with DX as my number 2 choice. So if I get heat for that, call me out for it. But that's what I wanted to go with.
Hey, I didn't even think about that, so I put them on separately because my number 2 is HBK. So yeah, I agree with you there. It had to be that, I put them in separately, but just all the reasons you said, just intertwined. Again, Shawn, I guess mine are separate because just Shawn and Taker only faced 5 times one-on-one, and every time was
every time it was amazing.
Even the Ground Zero match that didn't have an ending is incredible storytelling. Just the stuff that they were involved with too. Think of SummerSlam with was it Brett and with Sean the referee. It's just and just the chair shot and all the thing. Like it all goes together. Sean and him just have the best matches. My favorite match of Sean's and Taker's is Hell in a Cell '97. Our favorite match of Taker's career. So I just put Sean on there as number 2. I didn't think to combine it, but I can completely agree with you. I do not hold it against you. Don't think you're cheating. I completely see how all of that is intertwined. You could put Sean and Triple H there as number 2. But yeah, we're great minds. We both got Sean there at number 2. So which means number 1 is obviously Big Show.
Obviously, Big Show. I mean,
or Ken Anderson, Mr. Anderson.
Hey, somebody on Twitter shouted out Mr. Kennedy as an outside shot to make it on the list. Man, of course, both of us, number 1.
We would be doing a disservice. Yeah.
It's gotta be Kane.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Talk to me about it in comic book form. How would you compare The Undertaker and Kane's rivalry?
Oh, man. Oh, golly, dude. I don't know, man.
I think you called it...
I do.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think you called it Thor and Loki in the past, but you could
it's very Thor.
Say
Loki.
what else you were gonna say.
I was gonna say Magneto and Xavier Woods, or not Xavier Woods, Professor.
The classic rivalry. Magneto and Xavier Woods.
No, Thor and Loki's better. Yeah, I was Magneto and Professor X, but actually they're kind of two sides of the same coin. It's better. Yeah, like I said, Thor and Loki. These brothers that are on again, off again, they work so well together. They work better together than apart. But when they're apart, they're their greatest foe. Thor cannot match up with Loki. Loki cannot match up with Thor. I mean, they're one up each other all the time. And it's just, but eventually, the older brother wins. Like Thor does and like Taker does. But yeah, I think that's the best representation of it. Not Xavier Woods and Magneto. It's a new day. Yes, it is. But yeah, dude, it is. This storyline is everything you want in a comic book. It's. I would love to see Joker and Batman. I mean, there are times when they team up and they have to, based on things. But like Taker and Kane teamed up because they're bros. They got on each other's good side. But yeah, I think Thor and Loki's the best representation of it, and it's just amazing. It has so much depth. We always talk about wrestling is a soap opera for guys. I love great matches. I love great matches better when they have a story to them. I can love a bad match if it has a great story. Again, Taker and Kane from WrestleMania 14 is not a bad match, but it's not my favorite. But the story of it, the way it took 3 tombstones to put Kane down, and he still kicked out at 3.1, is incredible to me. And it's not lost on me, just the little nuances that go into it. You can't have, there would be no Kane, literally, without The Undertaker. So, and both these guys took these careers and took these characters to the next level, and neither one of them should have lasted as long as they did, but they made them.
And it was one of those that was one-sided for a long time.
Yeah.
Undertaker always getting the upper hand on Kane, but Kane actually got the upper hand. Their last match with each other, Kane was
2010,
victorious.
He won 3 in a row, right?
Yeah. Of course, they went on to have tag team matches with each other back after that. But the last singles match, Kane got the win there. And I mean, what is the original rivalry in history? Cain and Abel, 2 brothers.
That's right.
Man, that's the first. That's the first rivalry in history, and that is the the most basic rivalry you could think of. 2 brothers against each other. You don't have that with your brother, thankfully, but I mean that is the most basic story you could relate to. The most intense rift you can have is a rift between family, and it was so brilliant of them to come up with this brother of the Undertaker character. And so perfectly portrayed by Glenn Jacobs to turn it into something that didn't last just 6 months, but went on to become a Hall of Fame gimmick for him. They built it up so well at first, where Undertaker would not fight his brother, and they looked like they were going to be on the same side at first, but then they went apart, and they could always go back to that well with Undertaker and Kane, no matter when. And they did many times. They could go back to them as partners. They could go back to them as rivals. And it was always going to draw money. It was always going to work. It was always going to always going to pop the crowd when the Brothers of Destruction united with each other, man. It was, and that's why they're great rivals, because of how excited the crowd gets when they finally put the rivalry aside and team up with each other.
Just like Thor and Loki. Yeah. Just like Thor and Loki.
I love it, man. I think you could make other cases for people other than Kane, and I've got some Twitter comments to read from some of our followers.
I think you're wrong. If you say anybody other than Kane, I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you can try, but you're wrong.
You could try.
We appreciate your opinion, but you're wrong. I'm being a heel right
now. But before I read those, man, you mentioned some honorable mentions. I was going to say someone that didn't make our list. I was going to save it in case he made your list, but I think my number 11 was Batista. It was really between him and Yokozuna. I think probably most people would say Batista belongs on the list. Like I said, I had sentimental reasons for putting Yoko on there. I think Batista, again, too short of a rivalry, but the matches were great. He was a true
We were there
equal.
for one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was a true equal to Taker. It elevated Batista, put him on the map, their matches against each other. So I wouldn't be mad if anybody put him on their list.
I had him on there at one point and took him off. And he scratched off right here. Batista scratched off. I couldn't see it, but there he is, scratched off. Anyway.
Yeah, I can sort of read that.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, the fuzz is on. But, Batista was on there. And, again, I just think for me, the length of it was just that one year. And Randy Orton, some people might say, too.
Yeah, there was a whole Rivals episode for Randy Orton.
Yeah, but, again, it wasn't Randy Orton now. I'd love to see Randy Orton 2016 on versus the Taker. That'd be so good. But, yeah, it didn't do it for me back then. But, yeah.
Well, you had an interesting question you were saying we could bring up here towards the end of this earlier. What was that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what are some guys – we don't want a fantasy book. Like, let's not say guys like Sting or something, but let's just go, like, guys that actually in the WWF with him that he may have wrestled or didn't, but guys he kind of had a one-off with. But we always covered his pay-per-views and his pay-per-view rivalries. Maybe some guys that he just had a one-off with or a small feud that never really – got to the next level. Like, what are some guys that you think like could have probably made top 10? Just thinking back on it, like, man, if they'd have had a chance to really get that ball rolling. I'll just start with this. I'll say Ultimate Warrior, like a feud of his early on.
Yeah.
We didn't really get to cover because it wasn't on pay-per-view. We talked about it later on in Superstars and stuff, but like, imagine if that ball would have got rolling, even though it would have been one-sided probably because Taker was a heel at the time. It was just starting, and Warrior was who was. Like, I could just imagine the promos that would have come from that on both sides, dude. Both sides of the microphone. It would have been incredible, dude. I just think that would have been something more iconic than it was.
Oh, yeah. No, we certainly got the teases for it, but it never got on pay-per-view. And, yeah, it could have been a lot more. That's a great choice. Man, somebody I thought of when you first said that was Vader. Like, I wanted that to be so much more. And if it was like 1993 or 94 Vader from WCW and he was booked that way against, 96, 97 Undertaker, the matches, the heat those two guys could have had. Bray Wyatt,
Thank you. That was my next choice.
They crossed each other at the wrong point in history.
Yeah.
Man, but that should have been and could have been in another world, another universe, something that, was iconic and legendary.
Yeah, I think those two, and I think John Cena had, like, it's just so weird. Like, they had the one main WrestleMania match and one other match earlier on. It's just like, it's so weird that as big as Cena was, he was the face of the company. He and Taker never had, like, an epic rivalry, and it's just crazy. But I think that had cards played out differently, Taker would have been one of Cena's biggest rivals, or vice versa.
I'll throw in CM Punk as well. Like, if they had their rivalry in 2009, which was not good, but then it just lasted a month. That build up into WrestleMania 29. If they could have replicated that and kept that going, had Punk kept his head on, wasn't all Punk's fault, but had Punk's relationship with WWE not soured so badly, and he'd have been around for a few more years, and him and Taker could have kept that going, or they could have brought that intensity to the 2009 rivalry. I mean, dude, that would have been probably top 5 for me.
Oh yeah,
because that build up alone into Mania 29 could almost boost you into the top 10 list.
Exactly, and they got handed that because Paul Bearer passed away, and it just played in their hands. So yeah. That's really, I mean, those guys right there are really all I've really got, as far as just, I think there are some others that, we could throw in there, an RVD or an Eddie if Eddie got changed, or Jericho. Again, they never got Jericho.
Jericho's a good one.
Jericho's probably the next one we should say, it is insane that they didn't feud. It is insane. But because those matches would have been good. Both
the promos,
those guys,
come on,
epic storytellers. Both those guys love story, and again, they had the best 2 stories in 2008 on separate brands. So imagine if they had a chance to do that together. It would have been great, dude. So yeah, I think Jericho's the last guy I need to say, as far as doing that. But what could have been,
Yeah, well, we'd love to hear from you, everybody out there in the Pod Street Krew. Hit us up at Talking Taker on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Tell us, of course, tell us what you thought of our top 10 list. Who do you agree with more, mine or Travis's? Share your top 10. Share with us your top 10 rivals. We would love to see them. We would love to read who your top 10 Undertaker rivals are. And then share with us who are your best might have been rivalries, with Undertaker, or somebody he did face once or twice, or maybe had a TV feud with, but didn't quite have enough time, but it could have really matured into something that belonged on this list.
Yeah. No, I thought it was something, but then I was going to let it go. But yeah, let us know. You want me to read the WWE list real quick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went back and looked up the WWE and just Taker's greatest rivals, and this was from 2013. So I don't know if it's been updated since then, but let me just read this. Are top 15. All right, number 15 is Diesel. That's one that could have gone bigger and better.
Okay,
their match was awesome.
All right.
Number 15. This is 2013, so just take the last 10 years off your mind.
Okay.
Diesel, Jake the Snake was 14.
Oh.
Big Show was 13.
Yeah, I mean
Vince is 12. Yokozuna's 11, Batista 10, $1 Million Corporation is 9, Edge is 8, Orton is 7, Triple H is 6, Austin 5, Mankind 4, Brock 3, Shawn 2, Kane 1.
Yeah.
So similar guys we have, but Diesel, that's one that what could have been, dude.
It was a good rivalry, especially for the time.
Yeah, what could have been if they could have had some more time together, So because Diesel had some good matches with Taker.
Oh yeah, I loved their feud, and
Taker
having that Diesel mannequin in the coffin too. That was good stuff. I brought out intense heel stuff from Diesel at the time. Well, I did throw it out there to the P.S.K, and I want to share some of their comments here from Twitter. Like I said, Steve, I don't know how to say his Twitter handle, at Walzin Dredico, something like that. He said, Mr. Kennedy, an outside shot for you boys. Mr. Kennedy did not age well to us. We were fans of him back in the day, and he got a win over Taker, but another one probably needed a little more seasoning on there to make that one make the grade. No comment from Travis.
I had nothing to do with it. I can't.
Here's one neither one of us said. Didn't sound like it made it in the top 15 for WWE, but Jason Bayless on Twitter said...
Who? Oh.
Yeah, you don't remember the Jason Bayless rivalry?
Okay, go ahead.
Bret Hart. He was the one that opened the door for Taker to actually start being able to work and show what he could do, and that he wasn't just the zombie character they'd seen for the first 6 years prior. And I thought, man, I should have thought about that one a little bit more.
I thought about him, but I just thought their matches were really good. But I just don't remember I just don't think of Bret being a rival of his. I just don't think of the actual feud. I don't think of the story. When I think of them, I think of the matches that were fantastic. I gotta have some story to go along with it. And that just story for those matches just don't come back to me, honestly.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I have to sit and think. But yeah, there's no doubt those are great matches.
Good stuff. Superstar Grim Riper, I believe I'm saying that right, said Mick Foley, not only did Taker subtly evolve his repertoire to counteract the frenetic insanity of Mankind in 96, but the Hell in a Cell match they had in 98 intentionally or unintentionally gave Taker even more of an element of danger and that he's not to be feuded with lightly. You mentioned that. Mike Prue from the Bottom Line cast, of course, we heard from him earlier. He said, an all-time great rival is someone that you can compete with numerous times, sometimes for personal reasons, but often to determine who's the best. Based on my definition, I'm going to say HBK is Taker's greatest rival. Look, man, both had him at number 2, so I can't be mad at you if you put him at number 1. Paul at Layin' SmackDown said Kane. From the moment Paul Bearer introduced Kane, he made an impact going against Taker, and how their careers intertwined, whether as Brothers of Destruction or rivals, both brought out the best. And a longtime listener and friend of the show, loyal P.S.K. member, Zach at ZachL217, said, I'll throw a few out there, and I know you guys will make this list super badass. Batista and the 2007 Rivalry of the Year, in my opinion. He's, like I said, my number 11, a little bit longer. Wish it could have gone on there. He said Edge, and we're going to end it with this right here, man. A surprise one I would go for is the Great Khali. Their last man standing match they had on SmackDown was an amazing all caps blow off match. Zach, we're going to give you a pass because you've been a long time friend of the show.
Yeah.
Last Man Standing match was better than it had any right to be. I do remember that one being slightly better than it should have been. And look, we talked about qualifications for rivalry. Great Khali, he took Taker out, made him bleed, dominated him, squashed him basically on pay-per-view. So just kayfabe wise, you could make a case for that. But
I'd say you flip the script and say Undertaker was Khali's greatest rival. I would never say Khali.
That's something you said at the beginning. And, there's a lot of guys Taker was their greatest rival, but maybe not so much on his list. Great point. Great point.
So, like Batista, I'd say Batista's greatest rival was probably Taker, honestly.
Taker, Triple H.
Yeah, probably Triple H. But Taker's number 2. We're like, he didn't make our list. So, Taker's probably there for a lot of guys. But anyway, Khali. Golly, Khali. That's terrible.
Well, we love hearing it, man. I love hearing other people's opinions. That's what makes us so great, is we can all share those and agree and disagree and debate that. That's what we love about doing this show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Something a little bit different. Like I said, we don't want to we're not just going to do a watch along every month. We want to change it up, mix it up. And I know this one had been a topic request from some people, so it was very fun to talk about.
It's weird that we hadn't done this yet.
Well, I threw out the poll a few times, and it didn't ever win the poll. And we had other anniversaries to hit up, other ideas.
It was just funny. Like, I just think back, I was like, how are we not how are we not like. It's just funny. In my mind, we've done this.
It's been sitting on the back burner for a while. We've bounced it off and finally made sense to do it now. So be sure to listen to our coverage of all these Classic Undertaker matches wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you are subscribed to us. And if you are a loyal member of the P.S.K., let the world know about your P.S.K. pride with the latest offering at tpublic.com. Get your Pod Street Krew shirt. I'll show you the back.
Show us the back.
Oh, yeah.
Undertaker P.S.K. pride.
Little representative of the Undertaker's classic P.S.K. tattoo, and then the front is sort of like tried to match it like the beanies and hats. There's like a famous backstage picture of the B.S.K. So I tried to match that up as best I could. tpublic.com. If it's not on sale right now, just give it 24 hours.
Just wait a minute.
It probably will be 30% off. And you can get it on a sticker, a mug, a hoodie, a sweater, a baby onesie, whatever you want. And it'll help support us here at the show. But best way you can support is listen. Next best way is to head over to manscaped.com. Use the code TAKEREASY for 20% off your complete order. Something as small as the lotions or the gels, the boxers, or something if you want to go big boy, get the beard hedger, the performance package, any of that stuff. Just go check it out. Take a minute, scroll on the website, and if you find something you like, Father's Day is coming up. This, honestly, legit, some fantastic Father's Day gift ideas over at manscaped.com. Use the code TAKEREASY, 20% off over there. Quick shout outs to the Bottom Line Wrestling Cast. Thanks again to Mike for helping us plug Manscaped. Give them a listen. They just did a episode on War Games from 1992 with Stunning Steve Austin, an all-time classic match. And they are coming out. Their next episode is going to be they called it a mix pack. So they're going to be doing a top 10 list on there. They're going to talk about Stone Cold's top T-shirts of all time. They're going to rank those, which he had a new one every single week, so it'll be great to talk about that.
That one time he had a white one when he got doused in the blood.
Well, they're going to do the worst as well, so that's going to be on the worst. And then they're also
Austin's coming out in a white T-shirt. We know something's wrong.
They're going to review his Most Wanted Treasures episode that was just on A&E, and going to do a match review. So a little mix of things on there on their next episode. Steven Zeman of Collecting Dead Man. Of course, he's got episodes covering his ever-growing Undertaker collection. Got fun watch-alongs on there with Randy Turco and many others on there. And again, shout out to Buddy, friend of the show, P.S.K. member, Watch Along Tommy. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Watch his YouTube, his WrestleMania vlog series, his travels from there. Very fun stuff from Tommy. He did a Backlash review. What a great fun pay-per-view.
Did he go to Puerto Rico?
He did not go. No.
Dude, I was like,
wouldn't surprise me, you know.
I know.
But I'm sure he had a chance to somehow. But he'll probably go to the next one for sure.
Yeah.
And all that good stuff. Oh, yeah, real quick. Next month, so July episode, we talked about this, Travis. Going to be a little bit of a detour, but we're going to tie it into Undertaker. But speaking of 25th anniversaries, we talked about it earlier. It's the 25th anniversary of a match you were at live, an iconic moment in wrestling history. Goldberg defeating Hulk Hogan in the Georgia Dome on WCW Nitro in Atlanta, Georgia. You were there. So I want to hear all about your time at that match. We're going to watch that match back, do a watch along for that, and talk about that. But, of course, that was at the peak of Nitro. That was the main event of Nitro that night. Let's match it up with the main event of Monday Night Raw that night. We won't watch them at the same time. We'll go back to back.
Could do like we used to. I'll watch Raw and you watch Nitro.
It could be like
the other way around.
That might be kind of fun, actually. But no, we'll watch these matches. And, hey, just so happens to be that main event of that Raw is pretty famous moment. It is Kane versus Mankind, but it's not Kane. Oh no, it's the Undertaker dressed up as Kane in a pretty huge moment. So those were main eventing against each other back on a Monday night in 1998. So we're gonna relive the Monday Night War for a very special episode of Talking Taker and review those matches and see who we think won the war 25 years later for one night only, at least. So I think it'll be very fun, very different type of Talking Taker next month. So, man, let's wrap it up, man. Tell people what to do.
All right, manscaped.com/takereasy. Use it as your code, or use the code takereasy. I'm sorry, as your checkout code. Get 20% off. If you were there at any of these matches that we just talked about, I'm just kidding. We're going over that. Yeah, but let us know who your favorite or your top 10 rivals are. Sorry, Ken Anderson's not making the list. It was Kali. Let us know your top 10s and on the Twitter or the socials, all of the things, and we'll see you next month. Have a happy summer, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe out there, and as always, above all else, take her easy.